Welcome back to Sakina's Ridge Homestead. As you can imagine, we go through quite a bit of diesel fuel here on the homestead and our tractor. Today's video, we're going to talk about the way we store and transport diesel here on the homestead. Hello, and welcome to our channel.
We're glad you're here.
We have this 125-gallon tank with a pump on it. I bought this a few years ago. Originally, we were going to convert it to put the non-ethanol gasoline in it, because at the time we had the Golden Jubilee tractor and lawn mowers and weed eaters and so forth that all took the non-ethanol. Never happened. It's awful pricey, and to fill this thing up was going to cost a fortune, so we just never got around to doing it. And then we bought the New Holland tractor, which of course is diesel. Decided we might as well use this tank since we already have it. About a year ago, I loaded this up the same way with the tractor, and at the time I had the forks that hang on the top of the bucket. I'll try and post a video up here in the corner of when we moved round bales with those forks so you can kind of see how they operated. But they hung over the front of the bucket, so they were probably this far away from the pivot point on the loader, which shifts your weight way out. I struggled getting this out of the truck last time. It had 80 gallons of fuel in it. Today I put like 76 gallons in it. Just around $200, came up to $76, and that'll last us quite a while. But with now the new quick attach on there and the new loader forks, that'll be bringing this load that much closer to the pivot point on the loader. So we'll see if it picks it up any better. Right now I only have the landscape rake on the back of the tractor, and our tires are not loaded. So I may have to stop the video and go put a heavier implement on and try it again. But we're going to try picking this up with the pallet forks and just the landscape rake on the back. Well, that made an absolute world of difference having this back closer to the loader. Probably one of the lightest implements we have is that landscape rake. It does stick out quite a bit, but it's not very heavy compared to, say, the box blade or especially that flail mower. It's picked it up fine. Last time it kind of struggled picking it up. It picked it up with no problem. When I went to back up, I did feel the left back tire lift just a hair. I almost sat it back down to go get a heavier implement, but it held steady, so that's kind of why I backed off so slow. I wanted to make sure that all the weight was over the back of the truck, so if I had to, I could sit it down real quick and start to tip the tractor. But it worked just fine. We've kept this in the garage. I need to do some thinking here before we move it again. I'm not sure if I want to keep it in the garage or if I want to move it someplace different. It does have these 12-volt leads. You can plug right to the battery on whatever vehicle you're filling. But this does not have a shut-off style pump handle. It just runs constant. So it, like when you fill your car up at the gas station, when the foam comes up and hits the nozzle, it shuts it off. This doesn't do that, it just keeps running. So it's possible that if you're not careful and you're not thinking real well, you may overfill the tractor and spill diesel fuel. So what we did last year was I would just sit a 5-gallon can on here, fill the 5-gallon can, and transfer that to the tractor. I'm not sure what we're doing this year, so let me think about it for a few minutes, and then we'll resume the video with where we're going to put this pump at. Well, I figured maybe as a trial run here to see if we're going to put this back in the garage or set it someplace else. I'm going to try filling this with the pump itself and see how much more difficult it is than just using a can. The fill's on the hood on these, and one thing I noticed right away is I've got to open the hood to access the battery, which is going to make it more difficult to get to the fill nozzle here. So let's go ahead and take the lid off. We'll raise the hood up, which isn't easy anyway because the loader's right in the way. With the hood up, we'll take our little clips and hook them right to the battery. Black on the negative, red on the positive. With the hood up, I can actually access it through here relatively easily. So we'll try it with the hood up and see how it goes. I've had rid of 2 problems. First problem, when I went to flick the switch on, it didn't want to turn the pump on. So I had to flick it back and forth multiple times to get it to finally start working. And as you can hear, it's working fine now. The second problem I run into is over here on the handle itself. Okay, here on the handle itself, this little pin right here is what pushes in and out to start and stop the flow. It was really difficult to pull the handle to get it to come up. And now that it's come up, that pin has stuck in the up position. So we're going to have to take this handle apart and clean this up and lubricate this pin so that when I let go of the handle, it'll shut off. Because as of right now, it'll just keep pumping and pumping and never quit. Okay, this kind of doesn't surprise me since this pump hasn't been used in several months. We probably ran out of fuel in it. Oh boy. Well, as you can see, that didn't work out as I'd planned. One of these bolt screws came out. That's that one. 2 of them wouldn't budge. I tried using my impact screwdriver on it. That just stripped them out. I was able to take a hammer and chisel and get 2 of them out with a hammer and chisel by hitting it on the edge and then driving it to get it to turn. So I got 2 of them out that way. And this one on this corner, it wouldn't budge. I tried the chisel method, wouldn't come. I finally ended up chiseling all the way off and snapping off. I was able to barely grip it with vice grips, and it would just barely move side to side, and then it wouldn't move at all. So I ended up having to drill that out. I had to go to the hardware store and get new screws anyway. They are 5mm 0.08 pitch screws. The hardware store only had 5mm 0.09 taps. So luckily I had a 5mm 0.8 tap, and I was able to tap that out. And that should go right down in there. Alright, there we go. So, now this gets us to where we were at before I shut the camera off and had to deal with this issue. And I don't know if you can tell, it's getting dark out here. So I'm going to have to go get a pair of needle nose or something to reach down in here and grab a hold of the stem that's down inside of here. When I put these bolts back in, I'm definitely going to use some never seize so they don't seize up like that again, because I have had to take this apart before because of this stem hanging up. Now, with me pushing down on it, It's not horrible. So I might be able to push that out without. There we go. So there's our stem. Got a bunch of crap on it up here up top. We'll take some sandpaper, clean that top part off, clean the bottom part off. Definitely don't want to damage my two O-rings. That's what makes the seal on the stem. Wipe that off now that it's clean. We'll try it in there again. It's not real horrible. Just a hair more sandpaper. And I'll try rolling this sandpaper up. And sticking it in the bore. That little flap would stay over. Try the other end. There we go. Stick that in the bore. Give that just a little bit of sanding down in there. Try the stem again. That's working quite a bit better. A little bit of silicone paste lubricant on those O-rings and on the part of the shaft that slides through there. Oh yeah, nice and smooth now. So we can put our piece back in, get that cleaned up. This is what actually seals. The stem pushes up on here to open it to allow fuel to come through, and this spring forces down on it. And that's what stops the fuel from flowing when you let go of the handle. Sits right on top of there. Put our cap back on. That thing's got a pretty good spring in it. It's surprising that it was gummed up enough to act up. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't put never seize on that. Let me go grab my never seize. Okay, I prefer the silver anti-seize over the copper. The copper can actually kind of dry out, especially if it's around heat, and cause things to gum up, especially if you use it on something sliding. We've had that issue at work before. So we've made sure we use nothing but the silver, as it doesn't tend to do that as much. Pull these other two back out. And if I'd have put this never seize on here last time I did this, probably wouldn't have had this problem. Because this is not the first time I had to take this apart and free up that stem. I guess the idea is to do it right the first time, and I wouldn't have to be doing it this second time. Okay, run these down in. I don't want to strip them. Make sure they're good and snug.
Sure we don't get any shavings down inside of there. See, I took a rag and wrapped it around here to make sure my inlet was covered so I didn't get any drill shavings in there. Okay, that works real nice and smooth. Try the pump, make sure we're not leaking. Seems to be working good. Pump has a bypass in it, so when it fully pressurizes, it just dumps back into the tank. All right, looks good. Let's try this over the tractor. Sorry I have to use a flashlight, but it's starting to get dark out here. I can put the nozzle in here with the hood up, but I really can't see what I'm doing. Like I said, I need to turn it off before it overflows, and it's really hard to see down in there. So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and close the hood, which is going to make it kind of a hassle. Open the hood, hook the battery thing up, close the hood. So it looks like we might be leaning toward putting this back in the garage and using a 5-gallon can. So let me close the hood and we'll try it that way. Okay, with the hood closed, I can definitely see down in there. So let me turn the pump on and we'll go ahead and try filling it. Comes out pretty quick. Pretty hard to run it slow. It comes out so fast it makes it frothy. There's quite a bit of foam right down in there. I'm down probably an inch and a half or so from the top because the foam was coming up so fast I had to stop pumping. Now that the foam's dispersing, I guess they were down probably an inch and a half. Try it again. And if you can see in the camera the foam coming up, probably not. Yeah, I'm thinking it might be easier just to keep pumping this into a 5-gallon can on the top of the tank and just putting the 5-gallon can in the tractor versus using this nozzle over here. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be easier just to fill the 5-gallon cans and put them directly in the tractor than mess around with having to put the hood up and put the battery clips on, put the hood down, try and see in here, have the foam issue. So it looks like we'll be putting this back in the garage and doing it the old-fashioned way like we were before. So as you can see, it's getting dark, so we're not going to move this tank in the garage tonight. It's going to be too dark to film. We'll get up tomorrow morning and film moving this in the garage and where we put it and show you how we're going to do all that. Yeah, last year we had the tank sitting right here in the garage. You can kind of see a little mark here on the concrete and this rust line here on the concrete. That was the 2 feet where it sat. It's not a bad location for it, with the exception of the wood burner sits right here. Now, the wood burner is not assembled or hooked up yet or usable, but if it is, having the oil tank right here makes it completely unusable. So what we're going to do this year is move it over that direction a little bit. Okay, over this direction, I think you can still probably see the line in the concrete. That's where the 1 foot was before. If we move the tank over this way and rotate it 90 degrees and set it across this space, we should come out about even with this shelf, and it'll stick out a little bit in the back here. And that'll give us a little pocket here from the wall back to this cabinet. We keep things like tall levels and things like that standing up in this area. We'll still be able to put those back in here and they'll stand up a little better with the tank. So let me get the tractor fired up and bring the tank in here, and we'll get it set in this new location. Okay, now that I got it in here, I'm hoping what I can do is just use the forks to kind of push it around to get it in the position I need it in. I don't think that went too bad. It's in position. It's probably maybe an inch or so too far that way. I was trying to catch it here and drag it out, but I don't have side shift on the tractor, and it's hard to control those forks out as far as they are. So it's in here square. It's in there tight against the end of the wall, so it's close enough. I can live with that. We do have this old, it's like an emergency light type battery with a charger on it. It's convenient. We have a plug right up here to plug it into. The battery itself is junk, so we're going to have to get another battery for this. It does work through the charger, but I'm afraid it's going to burn the pump up. I'll show you what I mean. Yesterday when I turned the pump on, it would start running right away. Pump is on, but it's not running. But if I squeeze the handle, there, now it's running. When I let off, it stops running. So it's definitely low voltage going into it. I'm afraid over a long period of time, running that pump on low voltage like that might burn it up. So we'll go ahead and probably just get like a little lawnmower tractor battery or something to sit there, put the charger on it, and leave it hooked up. That's what we did last year with this battery, and it gets us by. But like I said, I'm afraid I'm going to burn that pump up. So we'll keep both the diesel cans sitting here, and we want to use the tractor. We'll fill one of those cans up and top the tractor off. We can also use this diesel fuel in our torpedo heater. In fact, probably 2/3, if not 3/4 of this tank of fuel last year, the 80 gallons I bought, went into that torpedo heater to heat this garage rather than being used in the tractor like it was supposed to. So that's one other reason we want to try and get that wood burner hooked up so we can burn wood back here when we need to heat the garage instead of using all of our diesel in that torpedo heater. But it does work really well when you need to be out here working. So if you have any questions or comments on our diesel fuel situation here on the Homestead, I'll be happy to answer them. Appreciate a thumbs up, and if you'd subscribe to our channel. And as always, you have a wonderful day.